All right. Welcome in. Toilets to Titles. This is episode number 116. Tonight we are doing our first rookie draft of this 2022 NFL offseason. So this is a Dynasty Fantasy Football rookie draft. We are doing 4 rounds. We are joined by a handful of guests. We got a bunch of guests this evening. I don't know if we've ever had this many faces on the stream before. So if you're watching at home, you might be surprised with how many faces you have looking at you this evening. But we've brought on, we've reached out into the Twitter community and tried to bring on the best guests we could to get the best content out for you so you can prepare for these rookie drafts. I know we got the NFL draft coming up, and that might change a few things, but right now you're going to get some interesting perspectives. I know you're probably sick and tired of the Toilets to Titles perspective, so we're branching out. We're branching out this evening. But with me from the Toilets to Titles crew, I'm going to quickly pass over the guys. We got the Dirt Man, Nate, over here. We got Dirty Jobs, Mike. We got Alex at AlexO_FF. We got Joe J_Clark, I believe, on the Twitter. He hit me with the Joe Knows in there, so I'm not quite sure. I think I got it correct. All right, and now I'm going to pass it off to the guests. These are the important people this evening, and I'm going to start with Shane. All right, returning guest, longtime guest here at Shane P. Hallam on the Twitter. He's a managing partner of Draft Countdown, and he's a co-host of the Debbie Marketplace. Shane, how are we doing this evening?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. It's always nice to be on here. It's nice to be back. I love this show every year, so appreciate you bringing me back on.
Man, it is good to have you. I know you're known for pretty much nailing mock drafts. I know a few years ago you had the top mock drafts, right? You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I wish. I had the top, the best top 100 2 years ago. I think I was top 10 in mock, but this year we'll get it back. This year we'll get it back and run it back, get the top at each. So I'm excited and doing all that work at Draft Countdown.
Man, you're in the lab. You're in the lab work. And another man who's in the lab, the Gridiron Scholar, John Laub at Gridiron Scholar 91, college fantasy football and NFL fantasy football analyst and co-host of the Draft Seminar. John, what's happening?
Hey, man, it's draft season. I'm fired up. 6 months of work comes down to the next 3 weeks. So let's go. We just need landing spots now. I'm dying. I got to know where these guys are.
That's it, man. And what do you think about the Jets possibly looking at A.J. Brown to pair him up with our guy Elijah Moore?
Well, I've heard I have one rule in fantasy, never draft a Jet. It's been 35 years. I probably own 2 Jets, and it's been pretty successful for me up to this point. So I am begging the gods of fantasy to keep A.J. Brown out of New York.
I feel that. I got a decent amount of Elijah Moore and a decent amount of Zach Wilson because I was a believer in both of them. So hopefully that pans out. Next, I'm going to pass to first-time guest Jeremy at Popes FFH, co-host of the Fantasy Football Playmakers, writer for FTN Fantasy, the SGP Network, and Yards Per. Jeremy, what is cooking?
Oh, nothing much, just like Josh over there, it's rookie season. So I'm excited. We're down to a couple weeks left. I'm still rolling through some threads on Twitter and finalizing all of these positions pre-draft. So
yeah, man, I've been checking out those threads. I appreciate your work. What are all those jerseys? You got Derrick Henry back there, Calvin Ridley, Javonte. Who's down there at the bottom left?
So it's Javonte, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, and Calvin Ridley.
Oh, man, I thought it was Derrick Henry. I am wrong. I like it, man. Those are mini helmets behind you?
Yeah.
Awesome. I got quite a few over my shoulder. We might have to chat about those after the show. All right, and next I'm going to pass it to Kevin at DuBois_22, analyst at Football Guys and co-host of the Debbie Royale. Kevin, what's cooking?
Hey, what's up, guys? Appreciate you coming on. First time I've ever been with you guys, so I always like that. I have familiar faces, though. I see you guys all over the place. I appreciate it. Just Debbie, this is all rookie stuff. I'm excited. Draft is finally here.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear your input on this rookie class. And finally, last but not least, David at Guru Fantasy World, creator of Guru Fantasy Football World. David, what's cooking?
I'm doing all right. I could be doing better. I mean, I'm drafting from the 108, so that means in this imaginary league, I didn't win money last year, and I didn't do bad enough to get a good pick. So we'll see how it goes.
Or maybe, maybe, I don't know. Maybe you sold the veteran in the offseason and you acquired that pick. Who knows?
I like that perspective a little bit better.
There you go. There's many different ways to skin a cat in a Dynasty Fantasy Football League. All right. So we're going to get this thing going. Before we do our draft, I want to let everybody know, if you're watching at home on the YouTube, it'd be greatly appreciated if you threw us a subscribe, hit the like button, threw us some comments. I believe we are 3 subscribers away from 450, and that's something we were trying to reach prior to the NFL draft, and I think we're finally going to get there, so that's pretty exciting. Also, check out toiletstotitles.com. All of our articles, you can see links to all of our podcasts. We have tons of shows on the network, and that's really it. That's it for all the notes there. So let's move on to the draft. This is going to be super flex. It's 4 rounds. We're doing it on Sleeper, and we'll probably take this draft, throw it up in article form sometime later in the week so you can actually go back and read this. Excuse me. All right. And we draft order this evening is starting. Jeremy's got the first pick, then Joe, then Shane, then I'll be up at 4, then Nino, who's picking in the background. After that, we got John Laub. We got Kevin, David, Dirty Jobs, Nate, Alex, and Shane's getting a second pick because he holds the crown for most guest appearances. And John Laub's right behind him. So maybe next year, John might pass him. But all right, so Shane's got the crown, so he's picking twice this evening. Let's kick this thing off. All right, so Jeremy, you are on the clock with the first selection.
All right, did you kick it off? Because it won't let me pick anybody.
Ooh, Mike's got to kick it off. He was teasing you. This is like a running gag we do. We don't kick it off. We really mess around.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Either way, I'll just start talking then because
I think it's kicked off. Mike, I don't know. Mike,
Not
are we
yet.
up and running? Oh, wait, and we're good. We got a bell.
Oh, now I hit refresh.
Make sure you
Hold
mute
on.
it. Make sure you mute it because they have an annoying thing now that if you make a pick, it
Oh,
goes,
there we go.
wow, there it
Oh.
is.
Yep, not muted. See, I'm not listening.
Well, it's not
Please
you.
hold.
That thing, man, every draft I've done so far, that thing drives me bonkers. So did you, you wanted to take Breece Hall, right?
I did.
Awesome.
So even though it's super flex, I'm going to skip on Malik Willis. I do believe there's a ton of upside there. However, I just like Breece Hall, and I have for multiple years leading up to this. Back-to-back 20 touchdown seasons in Iowa, back-to-back 1,400-yard rushing seasons. I just see him as a all-around complete back. And for me, I just feel like he's a little bit safer than Malik Willis with equal upside at the position for me.
Awesome. All right. So, Joe, you are next on the clock.
All right. Thank you. And, if you see me looking down, it's because I am in Sleeper now. I was able to get in through my phone. So that's why I keep looking down over here. And I've only used Sleeper once, so I'm not all that familiar with it. Quick question before I make my pick. I'm thinking about doing Malik Willis, but I'm not used to just doing these types of drafts, like dynasty drafts. And considering that Malik Willis will be it's a good chance he's going to be sitting the bench, I would assume, at least for a good portion of this year. Would he make sense going in this slot?
Oh, yeah.
And this is his super flex.
Dynasty's long term, baby. We're not playing redraft right now.
That
I think you if you like him, makes a lot of sense.
All right, then Malik Willis it is.
that voice. All right, it just had to hit us one more time. Shane, you're on the clock. How do you feel about the first 2 picks, man? Anybody taken from you, or you're happy with the way it went?
Sure. I would have loved that Breece Hall or Malik Willis. Like that would have been a dream made this easy. But I think the 103 is a tough spot to be in after those top 2 players. And I'm gonna make a pick that I think probably isn't consensus. But I'm taking Matt Corral, my QB1 in this class, quarterback from Mississippi. And honestly, I think Matt Corral brings some rushing to the table, which I think you need in fantasy in terms of pure upside, really quick release. He had that RPO system at Lane Kiffin in Mississippi, and I think he could translate to the NFL. Like Willis, he'll probably have to sit a little bit, but I think the upside's there to have some rushing yards, some rushing touchdowns, good arm. I think he has all the tools. If he goes in the first round of the NFL draft, I think 103, quarterback is king in Superflex. I'll probably be preaching this more tonight. This is the cheapest you're ever going to get these quarterbacks. I'll take Matt Corral gladly at the 103.
I just think it's kind of funny that it was very shocked at Malik Willis with the 102, but not so shocked with Matt Corral at the 103.
Who controls
yeah,
that?
that's okay.
Who controls that? I don't know. All right, I'm on the clock, and it comes down to my top 2 wide receivers. I'm going wide receiver here. I love the value of wide receivers and the longevity of wide receivers. And my top 2 wide receivers are Garrett Wilson and Drake London. And I think I'm going to go with, my board says Garrett Wilson, even though Drake London's close. I'm kind of leaning there. I'm still going to go Garrett Wilson. Give me this guy. He's very quarterback friendly. I think he's going to produce at a high level. So give me Garrett Wilson. All right. And then Nino is in the background here. He is getting ready to make his selection. He is on the Sleeper app. So as soon as this selection is made, I'll let everybody know. And then John Laub, you will be on the clock at 1-6 right after Nino. So who are you hoping he doesn't take here?
Are you at? Whoops, my pick came up here.
Yeah, Drake London off the board after Garrett Wilson. So you're up.
All right, easy for me, Kenneth Walker.
All right, Michigan State. All right, Kevin, you're on the clock at 1-7.
Yeah, so this is going to come down. My man took Corral, so I'm really upset about that. But I didn't think he'd go that high, but I should have known better. I'm gonna go a little bit off the board for Burks. I'm gonna take Jameson Williams here, just because I'm not as high on Burks as others. He's my wide receiver 4 right now. I like Jameson Williams upside. There's a real chance he could actually still get drafted as the wide receiver 1 in the draft. And I just love a wide receiver like him. And Waddle was my wide receiver 2 last year. I like these guys that can kind of go over the top of the defense. They can definitely play different roles in that offense. And I love Jameson. So I'm going to go him with the 107.
All right, there goes Jameson. David, you were on the clock with pick
I just want to thank you guys for making this really easy for me at the 108. I was saying, I was really sweating this pick. I didn't think I was going to like it at all. I was thinking I was going to have to maybe be looking to trade back in a real situation here, because it's going to be Burks for me here. But if not, it's like I was picking between Sam Howell, maybe Pickens, and I didn't know which one I was going to pick. But I'll gladly take Treylon Burks there.
Oh man, I was like, wow, is he really going to go all the way to me? I was very excited that I was going to get my my share of Treylon Burks. He's been going a lot later and later, and I like that, especially because I got a lot of late round draft picks coming up this year. So for me, I really like this guy. He's always displayed what he can do on that field. I think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be as good as Breece Hall, but I do think he'll be better than Walker. So I'm going to go with Isaiah Spiller.
All right, Isaiah Spiller. There's a lot of buzz between him and the next few running backs about who is the RB3. So it'll be interesting to see where their draft capital is this year. I think draft capital landing spots can be huge for this cat and some of the next running backs who I'm sure to go. Nate, the mailman, on the clock.
Yeah, I didn't know. It's kind of tough here for me, to be honest, but I think the guy I like here is, depending on how your league format is with returns and whatnot, but I think Chris Olave is going to be a monster at the next level, and hopefully he's doing that on my Packers, but probably won't be. But wherever he is, I think he's going to stand out and have a phenomenal career, so I like him here.
All right, another Ohio State wide receivers off the board, and then Alex, you were on the clock with the 11th selection.
Yeah, like Shane was saying earlier, quarterback is king in Superflex, and I think this guy is going to, be a starter. Well, maybe not a starter year 1, but I think he's going to get his chance, and he should put up some pretty good numbers. He's got some legs on him too. Probably not the same upside as a guy like Malik Willis.
He's got some legs on him.
Yeah, he's got some legs on him. Tiny hands, but he's got some legs on him. So I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett here.
All right, Kenny Pickett is off the board. We got 3 quarterbacks gone so far. Shane, you are up once again with your second roster. Your roster, this team won the championship. All right, so what's it doing?
Look, you know what I like to do with the championship team? Take all the starting quarterbacks. So all these other teams that don't have enough starting quarterbacks and lost everything, don't have enough and have to trade me a ton for them. I like that Pickett pick at 11. But I'm going to take a guy who's starting to get a lot of buzz into the top 20. I think that momentum is going to keep going. 96th percentile, top 4% quarterback athlete ever. That's Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. Ran a 4.52, 6'3", 211. His explosions in the top 5% of quarterbacks ever. He's going to have rushing yardage for days, rushing touchdowns. That gets fantasy points. And Desmond Ridder's probably going to go in the first round of the NFL draft.
I should have taken him at 10.
So can we pause this for 1 second? I just want to give a brief recap of the first round. So to start it off, we had Breece Hall go, then Malik Willis, then Matt Corral, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Kenneth Walker, Jamison Williams, Treylon Burks, Isaiah Spiller, Chris Olave, Kenny Pickett, and then Desmond Ridder. So, I mean, I know it's super flex and quarterbacks are king, but to me, it's still very intriguing that we did see 4 quarterbacks go off the board because of how low this quarterback class was discussed. So it seems to me the people that I respect are higher on the quarterbacks than I think maybe the Twitter sphere or rather just NFL fandom in general. And I also understand it's opportunity. If they're given an opportunity and if they hit, when a quarterback hits in Superflex, it's so much more valuable than when a running back or a wide receiver hits because quarterbacks are few and far between, whereas wide receivers, it seems, are falling off trees the last few years. Like wide receiver ones are just coming out of college left and right. All right, so that's the first round. We're going to move on to the second round, all right? And then we have Jeremy. You're going to be kicking this thing off in the second round.
All right. I was hoping maybe one of the quarterbacks would fall. I still do have Sam Howell. I am going to pass on Sam Howell, though, basically because George Pickens fell. For me, George Pickens is a guy that I'm extremely high on. There's a lot of raw ability there. I was sad to see that we didn't get to see a senior season due to his ACL injury. But I just believe the early breakout, kind of having that 700 yards as a freshman. He's always been a deep ball, field stretching type player. He's good in contested catch situations when called upon. I know there's a lot of concern off the field-ish, sort of. He kind of has a hot head, but I think ultimately George Pickens kind of reels it all in, and I think he has just as much upside as all the wide receivers taken in the first round. So I'll take the value here. It's kind of a high upside pick for me.
Somehow George Pickens falls to the second round in the NFL draft and the Cowboys find a way to get their hands on him, I'll be a very happy man. All right, Joe, you were on the clock, second round. So I guess it was good that you took that quarterback, man, because look at the run you started.
Well, it was going to be a quarterback, but I decided to go with Willis. But I figured Pickett's probably going to be starting from day one, maybe even Corral. So, but I went Willis and the highest upside guy. So that boom or bust pick. But I know I should probably take a wide receiver here, but I see I'm not crazy. I think it's a good running back class, but maybe it's a little too early. We've had some running backs go, and the guy I'm probably taking is not the highest one on the board right now, but he's got my heart. So let's see if I can. There we go.
He's got your heart. James Cook, Georgia running back, off the board rather. Shane, you were on the clock.
You know what I'm taking, don't you? It's a quarterback. Give me Sam Howell, who I think still has legitimate NFL talent. If he goes even early second round of the NFL draft, he's going to be a starter in a year, and you get one of the 32 starting NFL quarterbacks. I think Sam Howell's become underrated somehow. So I'll take it. Also, really high rushing yardage and rushing percentage this past year. So he's a guy that can take off and run a little bit too. I'll take it in the second round. All
right, and then I am going to take Sky Moore. He's a wide receiver that I think is another guy. He's coming out of the slot. He's bigger. He was bigger than I thought. I thought he was going to be under 5'10". So he's 5'10". He's explosive. He's got good hands. He plays with an edge. So give me Sky Moore, fourth pick in the second round, and then Nino is on the clock. And I think I know where he's going. Yep, he went Rachaad White, his boy from Arizona State. I could have told you that was coming. All right, John Laub, the Gridiron Scholar, go ahead.
So I don't love the running back value here. I think it is dried up. Obviously, all the quarterbacks are long gone by this point. So I'm going to go into the wide receiver pool, and I'm going to go straight off my board. The highest ranked player I have right now still on the board is Jahan Dotson, Penn State. Absolutely love his ceiling. I think he's a great route runner. He's a little undersized. I wish he was like 185, 190. I think he's 177, 178, somewhere's in there. But every time I saw him and watched the film, he just blew people away. I think he's going to be a very good pro. So I'll take Dotson here.
All right, there goes Dotson. And Kevin, you were on the clock.
Man, my man John, just the Carson Strong hate that he just threw out there. He's still on the board, John. All right, I'm gonna go.
I ain't taking a non-mobile quarterback.
You're killing me, John. That's just too much slander this morning today. All right. To me, this comes down to Watson or McBride, and I'm gonna go with McBride just because of the tight end positional advantage, and I think he could be tight end one. And I like Watson, but to me at this point, 207, give me the tight end because especially if he gets drafted as tight end one in the draft, which I think he will. I think just based on the positional value of that, he could easily be a top 10 guy next year. I mean, just based on the tight end landscape.
And how far has Jalen Weidemeyer fallen? You play Debbie, so my only Debbie league, I took Weidemeyer, and I thought that dude was going to be and then he runs a 5 flat in the 40, and his stock has just tanked completely. So
he might not get drafted tonight.
I don't think he should get drafted.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Apparently, everyone at that pro day ran slow though.
They did something wrong at Texas A&M. They got to hire Penn State coaches. Bring them down there. They didn't even get home cooking. What the hell happened down in College Station? I would be blowing a gasket if I was Jimbo Fisher. What the hell happened? That's ridiculous, man. Yeah. Just absolutely ridiculous that they all pooped the bed on home cooking at College Station. Come on, they invented cheating at Texas A&M when Bear Bryant was there in the 50s. You can't cheat in the 40? Give me a break.
Yeah. David, where are we going? I don't think you're going Jalen Weidemeyer.
Kevin, up yours. I recant my thank you for the first round Traylon Burks. I was really hoping for Trey McBride.
I know you were. That's why I did it.
I'm gonna kind of take like the anti Traylon Burks here, a guy who's like the physical attributes are the one concern. I'll take David Bell, who's just been a really good producer. So I feel like he's a little bit safe there to go with Traylon.
All right, Dirty Jobs, you were on the clock.
Okay, I was also on mute. Yeah, so I can't believe Christian Watson is still down here. I'm grabbing him. I really been high on him all season long, and it's kind of nice to see him still available. So that's why I'm snagging up.
Nate's pissed. Nate, if you guys are watching at home right now, if you saw this private chat, the slander that's going back and forth between Nate and Mike, Dirty Jobs right now, Nate's throwing some cuss bombs in there. I'm just kidding. He's not doing that. But
I'll fight you, Nate. I'll fight you on screen. Yeah. Not really. You're a lineman. I'm lazy.
Nate, what are you taking, my friend?
Well, I knew I should have taken Desmond Ridder in the first round, and I'm just kicking myself for it still. It's kind of tough.
Shane, he's never inviting you back.
Hey, you got to take your guys, man.
It just actually, to be honest, it makes me feel better that that's who I wanted. You know, it's like, oh well, maybe it was worth the pick. I think I don't know, kind of taking a shot on here. It's kind of a grab bag, but I guess Wan'Dale Robinson. Like I said, I'm not sure, but I think a good landing spot could help him immensely. So,
all right. Wow. Got a Kentucky, Alex.
I can't believe you took him. You took my guy. That's
How's
my
that feel?
guy.
Toilets and Titles is breaking up.
What did I do?
Breaking up.
That's all Mike's fault.
That's
all Mike's fault.
That's all right. I think I can piece something together here.
It usually should be.
I'm gonna go. Since Wan'Dale got taken, I didn't think he'd get taken before this. Oh, man. But I'll go with, he's coming off the ACL. I think he's still a strong receiver, and a good landing spot will do him really good. I'm going to take Mechie here.
Damn,
I like that selection. I was hoping to call as well.
I didn't think he would still be sticking around here, so I'm going to take advantage of it and snag him.
All right, Shane, you're on the clock.
Yeah, I'm going to take a player I hate. So
is this for real?
Yeah. Look, I can't go quite that far, John. But sorry, Kevin,
bro. You kill it.
But look, I don't think Brian Robinson's a great running back. I think he's not very explosive, even though he had really good numbers. But he's probably going to go round 2 to round 3. And if that's the case, there's a shot he goes to in Atlanta. He goes to a spot where he's going to be a starter. And if Brian Robinson's an NFL starting running back, you get him at the 212. I mean, that's a steal no matter who it is.
He's got some bell cow in him.
Let's pause this again.
Top of my cue, Shane.
All right, I'll take it.
All right, I'm going to recap the second round real quick for everybody at home. Just pause it real quick. We got George Pickens. We got James Cook, Sam Howell, Sky Moore, Rashad White, Jahan Dotson, Trey McBride, David Bell, Christian Watson, Wan'Dale Robinson, John Mechie, and Brian Robinson Jr. So still, 2 rounds in, 24 picks in. And to me, these are all, there's all solid value. And there's still a few players that, I am, decently high on that I'm excited to get in the 3rd round here. So let's start this thing back up. Jeremy, you were on the clock.
All right. Well, Mechie was going to be my hopeful pick, and that didn't make it. All right. So this is kind of where it drops off for me. I don't think that right here gets real dicey. I'm going to take a running back that I could probably get in the 4th round, but it's paused. Can you unpause it for me?
The suspense is killing me right now. I'm so interested in who this guy is.
It's still paused.
It was killing me so bad I wasn't even unpausing the draft. I'm like, come on, man, let's see what we're picking here. But can't do that without.
Now you can see it. All right. Kevin Harris out of South Carolina. It's a running back that I'm really high on. I fell in love with him in 2020. He had a really good 2020, 1,100 yards, 15 touchdowns, showed some decent receiving ability. He did have a back injury, I found out through digging in the offseason, and he just had a bad 2021. But in the bowl game, he looked really explosive, kind of back to what I thought Kevin Harris was. I think depending on landing spot, he could come out as a very good sleeper out of this class, just kind of how Brian Robinson was mentioned of. He's a decent running back. He has some explosiveness to him, and in a good landing spot, he could definitely rise up draft boards, I think, coming closer to rookie draft season.
Awesome. All right, so there's Kevin Harris. Joe, you were on the clock.
All right. Now this is a guy, when I've been doing my position group breakdowns this winter, starting back in January, and this is a guy I really kind of fell in love with early on in the process. And then I've seen him over the past few weeks, I think especially during the combine, just screaming up the boards. And so he's here, and I'm probably drafting him early anyway, but I like the value he brings at a position group that is hard to get production from, that's not consistent. And so I'm taking this guy now. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a really good NFL player. If not this year, then, starting sometime next year. Let's see.
Dulcich, UCLA. All right, he is screaming up boards. Joe, you have been talking about him a lot on your show Wednesday nights on your mock drafts.
That's why he's been screaming up the boards.
Yes, ever since they've had their ear to the street and they've heard your voice. The wind's been whispering. The wind's been whispering Dulcich.
Well, but that's because I've been listening to Shane and John Laub. That's why.
That's it.
But I pretend to be the expert.
Yeah. All right, Shane, you're on the clock.
I think the 3rd round is where you start just kind of taking your guys, and I think a player is going to get drafted higher than a lot of people have him, and I've been a fan for months and months. That's Pierre Strong Jr. out of South Dakota State. I think he does some things on the ground with his explosion, pass catching ability that's unmatched in this class. I think we could actually see him go in the 3rd to 4th round of the NFL draft. I think Pierre Strong, if it's a name you don't know yet, is a name to start to get familiar with.
All right, and like I said earlier, so I'm on the clock. I said I like how wide receivers come in, they produce, they have longevity. There's no quarterback I want here. I'm probably going to go wide receiver again. I've already gone Garrett Wilson, Sky Moore. There's 3 guys I like. All right, I'm looking at Alec Pierce, I'm looking at Justin Ross, and I'm looking at Jalen Tolbert. I think Alec Pierce is the highest ceiling of all of them. I think NFL teams might be higher on him than most scouts are. And I think it's worth a shot here in the 3rd. I think the ceiling is very high. So give me Alec Pierce. All right. And then Nino is on the clock. Again, he is in the background. So he's getting ready to select. He took Drake London in the 1st. He took Rashad White in the 2nd. And here he is in the 3rd round. So he is deliberating right now. Tyler Batty. Okay, running back. Off the board, John Laub on the clock.
Oh, let's see. Do I take Carson Strong? Can I dip in? Oh my God, he's staring at me, but I don't want Carson Strong. No. So Shane had mentioned taking your guy, and there's one player that I really like that is still sitting on the board, and I might be higher on him than most. I'm going to take Khalil Shakir here. I really like him. I think he's tough. He's physical. He gets the ball. He's underrated in my book. He's number 13 on my board. So I think he's the highest remaining wide receiver. So on my board. So I'm going to take Khalil Shakir.
All right, Kevin, you're on the clock.
See, now I look like a jackass because I can't take Carson Strong. But I just because who's on the board, I'm going to go Zamir White. And I think it's because he's going to get drafted earlier than what people think. I think in this third round, based on how I've kind of looked at things, you want to try to grab a running back maybe in this third round that gets a good draft spot that maybe can have that value next year. And maybe if you're like that contender or something that you could plug and play if there's an injury. I think Zamir can do that because I think he can score in the red zone. I think that he's good. He's a very good sleeper to pick here.
All right, so there goes Zamir. David, you're on the clock.
Yeah, I agree with the Zamir White pick. I think he had a really good combine too. He was someone who I was kind of deliberating on with this pick, but with him off the board, I'll tell you what, if I'm actually able to get this guy at 308 in rookie drafts after the NFL draft, I'm probably going to have 100% of this guy. I'm going to assume he's going to go up a little bit higher. We'll see what Shane has to say. I think he might get drafted higher than some people are expecting. Another great combine performer, just a freak, a moose, as they're calling him, 6'7", 259 pounds, 4'6", 140, 37.5-inch vertical out of his product. He also showed up in the shuttle, in the 3-cone, showed impressive quickness. I'm taking Jelani Woods right off the bat there.
Once you said 6'7", I was like,
Yep.
Yeah, narrows it down.
Shane, is he the tallest player in the draft?
The tallest skill position player in the draft. He sure is. So he's by far. He's my tight end too. I think it's a good pick here.
All right, Dirty Jobs on the clock.
I just can't. I can't leave Kyron Williams just hanging out there. I got to take him right there. It's to me, he's going to be. I mean, he's probably not going to be the best running back in the NFL, but he starts within about 2 to 3 years here, in the right situation, anyways.
Kyron Williams is gone. Nate on the clock.
I had a rough last couple of years, I guess. The one I wasn't even sure if he'd ever play football again, to be honest, after the neck injury. It was fun in the beginning, I guess, at Clemson. Had a little bit, or played a little bit there the senior year. I'm hoping that things turn around and, like I said, he gets back to form. But yeah, Justin Ross is my pick here. So,
Alex on the clock.
All right. This is a running back that, like Kevin was saying about Zamir White, I think he might go a little earlier than we think he's going to go. And I think he's got the chops for it. Maybe not the full bell cow role, but I think he could be a role player on an offense and maybe get a starting spot in the next year or two. I'm going to go with Dameon Pierce. He's not the most exciting one, but I think he's got a nose for the end zone when he wants to. And I think he can do something in the NFL.
Yeah, right. I like him a lot too. He's apparently very good at protecting the quarterback as well. So he could be
That's
out
always
there.
Good to have.
Yep, exactly. So I think he's going to have a lot of value in the draft and real draft.
All right, Shane on the clock.
All right, so this 12th pick team is just going to be everyone that I hate, but I can trade away later. I'll take Carson Strong when the Seahawks take him in the 3rd round. I'll trade him to Kevin, and it'll be fine.
All right, so you guys can negotiate in the private chat. All right. Terms. All right, Jeremy, you are on the clock. We are speeding through this thing. I'm very happy with how we're doing. All right, we're in the 4th round. You're starting off with the first selection.
I'm just going to keep the pattern going, and I'm going to take a wide receiver with my running back. I'm going to take Jalen Tolbert. I think in the 4th round, I am well worth risking the upside here. He's had 2 productive seasons in a row in South Alabama. I know there's probably a concern with the jump in talent and this playing level that he's going up against, but he's a decent route runner, and he does well creating separation down there. So I'm going to take the risk at it here. I think that there's some upside to him. Definitely a good route runner playing out of the slot. He could create some separation and do some damage in a couple of years in the NFL.
Love it. All right, Joe, you're on the clock. 2nd selection in the 4th round.
Oh, boy, I should have taken a wide receiver earlier. All right. Going to go with this guy. I'm not crazy about what's left on the wide receiver board, to be honest with you. All right.
You don't have to take a wide receiver.
I know. You know what?
Take Danny Gray. SMU.
Nah, I'm not going to go wide receiver because I just don't like the wide receivers. I think this guy's got starting ability.
Oh,
Haskins
Nice.
off the board. Alex isn't happy.
It was between
All
him and Tyler Algier. Is that how you say his name?
Algier. Well, I don't know if I'm
Even
pronouncing it
better.
right, but
Yeah.
all right, Shane, you're on the clock.
Yeah, look, I'll take Tyler Algier. I'm a big fan of his from BYU. I think that he didn't quite have the athletic heights that I was hoping for. Definitely raw still in the vision category, but he's he's a player that's still learning. I think in the 4th round, he has that explosion. He had that excellent 10-yard split at 224 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
There's some upside there with Algier.
Yeah, I was hoping Algier would be there. Man, I think he could be this year's Elijah Mitchell. I was a little disappointing seeing he ran a 4.6. So I thought he'd be a little more explosive than that. But he's a former walk-on, and he's earned everything he's gotten there at BYU. And I think he's the type of cat you want on your roster. I think he's going to scratch, claw, and tooth and nail to make a starting lineup in the NFL. So now I am up, and I guess I'm going to go with my guy, Isaiah Likely, Coastal Carolina. I think he reminds me a lot of Delaney Walker. I think he's going to be targeted a lot. I think he's going to move around a lot in the formation. He's going to be able to find space. I think offense coordinators are going to have fun with this guy. So give me Isaiah Likely in the 4th round to end up my draft. And then Nino's on the clock. He's got London, Batty, Rashad White, and this is his final selection. It's the 5th pick in the 4th round. We are waiting patiently for his selection. If you're listening at home. All right, Romeo Dubes out of Nevada. So there we go. We got Carson Strong is gone and Dubes is gone. All right, John, you're on the clock. Oh, dang, that was quick. Jerome Ford. Are you going to tell us a little bit about him?
Yeah, I mean, he hit my threshold. He is over 200 pounds. Let me get 210. He's 5'11". He ran a 4.46. He's a better pass catcher than people give him credit for. He had a 27% scrimmage yards dominator this year for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Kevin had mentioned it. I'm taking shots in the 3rd and 4th round at running back, and I have Ford at number 8 on my board. I think if he lands in the right spot and gets an opportunity down the road, I think he's very underrated. So I'll take Jerome Ford in the 4th round.
All right, Kevin, you're on the clock.
Yeah, this kind of comes out to 2 guys for me, either Ty Chandler or Keontae Ingram from USC. Both are pass catching backs. I'm actually a big fan of Chandler. I think he had a good year last year for North Carolina on a bad team with a bad offensive line. I think he looks explosive. He looked really good in the Shrine Bowl. He ran well. I think he's gonna be okay. And if he can find a role where he could be like a James White / running back, I think that's good value for the 4th.
All right, David on the clock.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you again, Kevin. Like you took Zamir White last time, I'm going to be taking Keontae Ingram. He's a guy who I liked a lot. In the combine, 6 foot 221. He's got a size speed combo that's very intriguing. 4.53 40. He also had a good vertical, 34.5 inches. He was used as a receiver. 3 seasons with 20 plus receptions. 2 of them at Texas, 1 at USC. So I think he's a guy if he starts as a backup and injury and lands, he could be a great handcuff type guy who can emerge and do some damage as a 3-down player.
All right, Dirty Jobs on the clock.
I'm grabbing Dontario Drummond. I really liked what I saw with his last season over there at Ole Miss. Once he got him into a situation outside of I can't remember what college he came up to Ole Miss from or where he transferred out of. Either way, the quarterback there wasn't very good. He finally got some opportunities on the field, and once he started getting those opportunities, he started looking really good. I'm excited to see where he lands. I'm excited to see what he can do in the NFL. And if we're in the 4th round. Like last year, I was getting people like Elijah Moore right here, and things like that. So I like my little stabs in the dark. They usually can and do pretty good for me. And Dontario Drummond's my sleeper for the year this year.
Ole Miss is in a bad place to reach for a wide receiver. They've been doing pretty well producing wide receivers the last few years. All right, Dirtman, Mailman, you're on the clock.
Yeah, well, I really wanted Keontae Ingram. I didn't think anybody would even draft him, but oh well. Jerrion Ely, I guess he kind of had a split back.
Ole Miss back to back.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Like I said, it may just be dropped pretty soon, but give him a shot.
Alex on the clock.
So I'm going to take my stab at tight end here. I don't know how well he's going to do in the NFL, but he is a good blocker, so that should get him on the field at the very least. And he does have some decent hands when they throw him the ball, so I'm going to go with Ruckert.
All right. Wasn't Ruckert like a huge prospect coming out of high school?
Yeah.
I feel like he was like spoken about highly coming in. So the former blue chip, Jeremy Ruckert. All right, Shane, you're on the clock.
Oh man, still a lot of possibilities, and I like you mentioned Danny Gray before, who I think is really intriguing from SMU.
He reminds me of Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I think we could see the Steelers take him in the 3rd round.
Well, I'll be dipped,
and make that happen. I like Abram Smith from Baylor as kind of my last running back that I'm interested in, but I'll take a shot on just like really big athletic upside, despite being one of the smallest players in the draft. I'll take Calvin Austin from Memphis here, 4.32 speed, high end 90 percentile athleticism at the receiver position. He's less than 5'8", 170, but he can do some things. So I like that 4.12.
Awesome. All right. So before we did this draft, when I said 4 rounds, initially I said 3 rounds, and then I said 4 rounds because we had so many guests and thought maybe I was biting off more than I could chew. But looking over this board here, there's still names in the 4th round. So this really wasn't, all too difficult. So I'm going to pass around before we wrap this thing up. I'm going to let everybody give their thoughts, on how the draft went. And why don't I start with you, Shane?
I think the draft went well. I was really interesting, and I'm really interested to see how it changes after the NFL draft, because I do think the quarterbacks are going to get bumped up when they get in the good positions in super flex leagues. I think the receiver run makes a lot of sense. Those top 5 going in the 1st round. And I'm with you. I think this is a deep group. I mean, I think our 2nd round looks really, really good. I mean, a guy like Christian Watson at 209, Rashad White at 205. I think could be potential steals. Trey McBride at 207. So, I think it's a good draft, and I think it should show you, hey, these 2nd, 3rd round picks might prove worthwhile in your rookie draft.
John, was this chalk? Was there any surprises here? What are your thoughts on this draft?
I don't know if it was chalk because the super flex makes it interesting. I think Shane had mentioned that Desmond Ridder is getting top 20 draft capital, right? I've heard the same thing a lot. A lot of teams seem more interested in him. He's not the top of my board, but I do think he's going to go much earlier than most people expect. So I've never seen Ridder in the 1st round of a super flex draft yet. So I think that's a very interesting pick. And, some of the players that have fallen, you see players. Look, did Kyren Williams go? Did I miss him?
Yeah, he did. I think he was in the 3rd round.
David Bell there in the 2nd. I mean, Sam Howell, I think Shane in the 2nd round, I would love to have gotten Sam Howell. He's my top quarterback on the board. I'm extremely bullish. I'm hoping to get him in the 2nd round of all my drafts if he falls to me.
All right. And then Kevin, what are your thoughts on this draft here?
Yeah, no, I think to their point about Ridder, in my last one for football guys, I had Ridder at the 108. So I think that he's going to go up just based on his Konami upside. I don't think it really matters what he is as a quarterback. We saw Jalen Hurts be a QB1 last year. So I think Ridder's going to do the same thing. As far as the draft goes, to me, it's all about Burks. I don't know where he's going to go. He's all over the board right now. If you ask some guys, he should have gone at 104 where you pick Wilson, where I would have picked Wilson too, because Wilson's my wide receiver 1. 108 is a little interesting. That's probably the lowest I've seen him. It's probably my fault because I took Williams, but it's just interesting to see where he's going to go in the draft, how the draft capital goes, because I've seen him get mocked, and Shane does more mocks than I do, but I've seen him go out of the 1st round. I've seen him go in the top 15. So I think there's a lot of unknowns about Burks out there.
I think we've learned over the last few years that separators, win and produce right away. Guys that separate, and I think that's what separates, no pun intended, Jameson Williams from Treylon Burks. Jameson Williams can fly, and that cat's going to get open. And, I want to see, the draft capital with Burks. I want to see him with a quarterback who can throw him open, because I think that's going to help him a lot. I think that's going to open the game up for him. I'm interested. I think he was limited in Arkansas due to that offense, but we don't know for sure. And it's a risky game, and we're trying to work with what we got. All right, Jeremy, what do you think about the draft?
Yeah, I think I can echo a lot of what Kevin was saying. Treylon Burks is a big wild card. I think Matt Corral's way earlier than I thought he would ever go in a super flex draft. Understandably so, though, if he's your quarterback 1 and you're sitting at 3 and he falls to you, I mean, it makes sense. But yeah, outside of that, it seems pretty much where I feel like it's going to be. Even post-draft, I feel like the 3rd and 4th round is going to be a lot of just handcuff running backs that you're taking shots on depending on landing spot. And these tight ends, I think this tight end class, it makes sense to see 5 in here. I think the tight end class is a little bit more talented than the past years, especially even for Rucker going at 4'11" makes sense. Like, he does have some pass catching upside. So,
yeah. It's interesting when you said, like, you think this is pretty much what it's going to look like after the draft. And I agree, but there's usually like 1 or 2 guys that, Shane mentioned, I mentioned Danny Gray. Shane talked about, maybe the Steelers take Danny Gray. Usually when the Steelers take a wide receiver, the whole world, catches up. And that's the type of guy, like when the Steelers make a move like that, that's going to bump a guy up. So I could see this being pretty generic, but there is going to be 1 or 2 names, I'm sure, that based upon draft position, it'll be interesting to see who those names are. All right, David, to wrap this thing up, man, what are your thoughts on this draft?
I don't think my thoughts are going to surprise anyone. I'll say you guys are a bit too low on the top 2 tight ends there. Trey McBride, man, and Jelani Woods, the upside is through the roof with these guys. And especially with McBride, the last question mark about him was really that speed because he didn't participate at the combine, and that was kind of like the one reason to really be hesitant. But then at the pro day, he came out and ran 4.56 40. And from all indications, he's going to be drafted fairly high in the 1st or 2nd round, I would expect. So I think he's should be coming off the board kind of after like Pickens and Howell come off a little bit towards the high 2nd round. And Jelani Woods, I think he should be a late 2nd round pick. The upside is just crazy, crazy high. He comps to Logan Thomas is a guy who I feel like he comps to really well, at least physically. Almost the exact same size, height, weight. He's a little bit taller, a little bit bigger, but same speed, same quickness, same vertical ability. I think the upside is through the roof for Jelani Woods to just really become like a game-breaking tight end. So if you can get him in the 3rd round, you should be smashing that.
Right on. All right. And then, John, I know you had mentioned you have 3 players you want to discuss.
Yeah, I think the draft can be deep. And I think if you're astute, that there's value in every round. And there's 3 wide receivers that I really like still that are on the board. In the 5th round, I'll be grabbing them. Kevin Austin out of Notre Dame, size, much better athlete than I thought he was. Didn't get an opportunity until his last year at Notre Dame. So I like him in the 5th round. Bo Melton out of Rutgers. I think he's an outstanding long shot here in the 5th round.
Had a good Senior Bowl,
Very interesting to see where he goes. And then last one, Velus Jones. I think he'll be an immediate player at the NFL because of his special teams ability. He's 6 feet. I think he's 200 pounds, 202 pounds. So those are just 3 guys I look who are in my queue, and I would still be excited and targeting them in the 5th round.
Awesome. All right, man. This was excellent. I know we started kind of putting this thing together last week, and it's usually we're all adults. We all have busy schedules. So I really appreciate all you guys, making this thing work, making this fit into your schedule. I reached out to the Toilets to Titles community, and I was asking, what are some names we should try to get together? And all of you guys were highly sought after. A lot of the guys in the chat mentioned you guys, and I reached out to you. So I really appreciate you giving us your time. And if you're listening at home, I appreciate you listening. Everybody who's in the chat, we appreciate you. Chris's videos, I see you in here. You're here every week, man. Thank you so much. Make sure to comment on here. Let us know who you think had the best draft. Let us know who we're too high on, who we're too low on, all that good stuff. Dirty Jobs over there pointing to himself. He's letting everybody know that he dominated that draft. What I am going to do, I'm going to put links to all your guys' Twitter handles in the show notes. Anything you're working on, you want me to get out there, send it over to me. I'll put it in the show notes as well, and we'll put links to that also on our website, toiletstotitles.com. So that does it for episode number 116. What are we, like 23 days from the NFL draft, guys?
I think so.
Man.
We're here. May all of our NFL draft dreams come true. I mean, I'm a Cowboys fan, so seeing the Eagles trade away one of their 3 picks made me very happy because they have similar needs to us. So that means one less guy. I'm hoping they take. Somebody's going to fall to us. Maybe Tyler Linderbaum falls. I don't know. It could happen. But everybody, we will see you next week. We appreciate you. Take care.
Yep.